Hello friends, ready for another incredible story? Let's go. At the beginning, our protagonist is absolutely wrecking a monster that seems ridiculously strong, but he kills the creature with extreme ease. Then, the system notifies him of completing the boss fight. He eliminated the area's boss, the Scorpion King. He complains that now he has to go hunting again because he's going to get bored soon. We learn about the world's largest virtual MMORPG, Arena, and he's ranked first globally, first in total character level, and first in Coliseum points. He's the top player with an unprecedented record. Suddenly, he says he thinks it's time to call it quits and focus on the real world. That day, he decided to quit the game for good. His friend asks if he's lost his mind, wondering if he actually deleted his Arena account. Ukul Yong-chan asks why he's so shocked, explaining that he can't just keep playing games forever because he needs to focus on real-life stuff. But Yang-shan asks how he couldn't be surprised. After all, the top-ranked player just vanished. That character could have sold its items and easily secured hundreds of thousands of dollars. But Reno explains he made the decision because he didn't want to regret it in the future. To him, games should be fun, not a way to make money. So then, Hong Shan asks what he's going to do now, and the kid says he's going to enlist in the army and take over his father's business. At this, Shan wonders why he even cared about that spoiled rich kid. But Ruan remarks that there was a time when he said that, but someone somewhere once said life is unpredictable. 2 years later, he's working at a convenience store, dealing with a drunk. He says the man reeks of alcohol and even looks like a goblin, complaining that annoying customers are the worst. He reintroduces himself, saying that he's now working part-time at the convenience store for $40 an hour. He's shocked, thinking who would have thought that the super-rich heir of the danced construction company would fall so hard. The downfall began around the end of his military service, when his father's company went bankrupt. He says his father, the family's pillar, got sick, and the family got buried in massive debt. He had no choice but to support his family, and his main source of food now comes from expired goods from the convenience store. He has to save every penny to pay for his father's medical bills and the family's expenses, wondering how long he can keep going like this. That's when he gets a message from Yong-chan, telling him to respond because he already knows everything. Yong-chan questions why he thinks friends exist, saying they're supposed to help each other in tough situations like these. At this, he realizes Yong-chan hasn't given up on him, feeling grateful. He reveals that, in truth, he was the one who started ignoring Yong-chan after his family went bankrupt because he thought talking to him would only make him feel more pathetic. Yang-shan keeps messaging him, asking if he's going to keep ignoring him, until he suggests that R should return to Arena. That catches R's attention. The kid says, "Damn, Arena is pretty profitable these days. If he becomes a streamer or goes pro, it'd be easy money for him to make millions." He adds that he just wanted to remind him that the option is legit, given he's the former #1 ranker. R starts thinking about Arena, wondering if he could regain his status as a top player and maybe actually make money from it. He says if that's true, it could really work out. So, he heads to the mall, but tells himself he got his hopes up for nothing. He realizes he didn't notice it back then because he bought it without thinking, but the cube he used to play is way too expensive, at least 3 times his current salary. He questions why he deleted his account back then, realizing now that it was such a waste. Then, one of his old friends appears, Junram. Beck asks if he doesn't remember him, and Rio has some trouble but eventually recalls him as the delinquent son of his father's business partner, Mr. Young. June snarkily says that maybe the great son of Danu Construction doesn't think he's important enough to remember, but Henek tells him to chill, saying it was just a joke, though he seems shaken. Thinks to himself that this jerk hasn't changed, still acting like that, and wishes he'd just finish his business and leave. Junram mentions that people usually shop at the mall, but since Runo's family went bankrupt, he wonders if he even has the money to be there. Runo asks how he knows that, and June replies, "What do you mean? How? Didn't your parents tell you?" He says that what happened to Runo's family was all his father's fault. Asks if he's saying it was Mr. Young who betrayed his father, and June responds that his father worked for RS father for decades, and it was time for him to come out on top. He goes on to say that RS dad was so shocked that he collapsed, and now R has to take care of the old man, making sure he doesn't die alone in his bed. Charges at him, landing a solid punch right to the kid's face, calling him every name in the book. The security guards start approaching to calm things down. They ask what Ruth thinks he's doing, and he's still furious about why his father is bedridden and why his family is in ruins, with Ramba saying it's all because of his family. Then, a girl asks what's going on and orders them to call the police. But Reno tells Ramba that he's going to kill him, no matter what happens. A little later, he's already walking out of the police station, in the middle of a massive downpour, wondering if the money is really worth it. He thinks Jung not only betrayed his family, but also goes around bragging about it, like it's something to be proud of. He thinks about getting his revenge, but wonders how he's going to do it. Then, he says that right now he has no power to take his revenge. While watching TV, he hears that someone recently signed a $2.5 million contract, and the person on TV says that apparently they've made millions by streaming Arena. They realize that's a ton of money, and she mentions that Arena is having a much bigger impact on the economy than expected, with new jobs popping up related to the game. He thinks about Arena, and when he picks up his phone, he doesn't feel embarrassed or proud. His body just moved on its own. He calls Chan. The guy answers, saying it's been a while since they've talked and asking why Ruan hasn't replied to his messages. Ruan apologizes for calling out of the blue. Yong Chan asks what happened, and Ruan asks if Chan can help him because he wants to get back into Arena. Meanwhile, in the game's executive office, the employees are going nuts because something huge just happened. Millie God is back. One guy, sweating in the office, says that a new character was just created with the Millie God's user data. His boss asks if it's my God, but the guy says it's Millie God, the perfectionist. The boss is surprised, asking if he's really back, but with full irony, questioning if the guy really thought he'd say that. He sarcastically asks why he'd care about some washed-up player from 2 years ago and tells him to get back to work. Then, the girl behind them notices that Millie is indeed back, and she quickly tells her boss, requesting a status report on the character currently in the tutorial. The elf NPC informs the manager that the character, Kong Reno, who is currently in the tutorial, has just completed the magical power test, setting a new record for the test. The boy, excited, tells the manager that he wants to take the next test right away. He says that if Arena is the only way he can change his situation, then so be it. He's going to become a top ranker again. A while back, Yong Chan had brought him to his house and told him he could use his game console. Ruan apologizes, saying he doesn't have the right to say this, but he promises to make it up to him. Chan tells him not to be so depressing since they haven't seen each other in so long. Then, he punches him, calling him a dummy, and tells him not to disappear again. When Ruan enters the game, he immediately grabs a sword, showing great control, and asks the game to start the tutorial. She tells him that, according to the records, she'll give him the level 10 test. He says it's been a while since he fought in the arena and comes face to face with a pretty stylish elf. He thinks that this is the tutorial and realizes it's a level 10 Dark Elf warrior. He says it's not a bad place to start, but reminds himself not to get too excited and controls his breathing. As he closes his eyes, someone yells at him, telling him the tutorial has already started, as an elf charges at him. The elf says it was a mistake to close his eyes, but Reno dodges the elf's attack, saying he doesn't think it was a mistake. The elf is surprised that a level 1 user blocked the attack from a Dark Elf warrior. The boy thinks it's been so long that he blocked it without even thinking about the level difference. Thankfully, it worked. He reflects that the reason he reached number 1 as Millie God was because no one could match his level of control. Meanwhile, the elf grows more and more irritated, saying that he should be stronger and faster, but that humans' attacks are getting sharper by the second. While talking to Chan, Ruan explains everything that's been happening and asks what friends are for, admitting it's going to be tough for him in the first month. Chan offers Reno to stay with him for the first month. The boy thinks about his gratitude, his desperation, and his thirst for revenge as he absolutely thrashes the elf, knocking his sword away. He thinks he's going to repay it all, finishing the elf off with one strike. To do that, he'll become a ranker in Arena again with unimaginable speed. The GM woman watching him thinks that a newly created character just managed to defeat a level 10 Dark Elf warrior, and that's even better than expected. She realizes Millie God hasn't lost his touch and starts congratulating him, saying the tutorial is over. The boy finally enters the game and meets Dell, the village chief, who eagerly greets him and gives him the reward for the test, a ring containing the spirit of a giant. The boy notices it's a unique item and says it was worth taking the level 10 test, stating that it was a great start. Zhang Chan asks if he finished the tutorial and tells him he's sending a ride to pick him up, asking him to head to the east gate. Ruan wonders if that ride could be for him, but Reno says he needs to craft an item and they'll meet up later. Yanzhen asks what item it is, but the boy says it's a surprise and he'll show him later. Yanzhen tells him he just started playing again, asking what he's planning. Before saying goodbye, Ruan asks to borrow 50 euros, since he forgot he was broke, and Chan lends him the money. The boy explains that back in the day, there was an item that all hardcore players used, nicknamed the XP Potion, a popular item that boosted XP gain by 20% for 4 hours. The XP Potion was insanely expensive, sold at 3,000 euros per unit. When the supplier disappeared, the potion faded from memory, or so people thought, because Reno was the supplier himself. He mentions that he's still the only one who knows how to make the XP Potion, and if he sold it at auction, he could name any price he wanted. But the final ingredients aren't dropping from monsters anymore. He's got a long list of items, and he realizes that the only way to get the last ingredient is to enter a dungeon. But he gets irritated because a guy tells him he can't enter, as that dungeon belongs to his guild, the Black Skull Guild, and it's no place for rookies. Reno explains that the dungeon is the only place where he can get the final ingredient, asking what the guy thinks he's doing. He also warns the guy to step aside while he's still being nice. But the guy laughs and says he looks like he just started playing, telling him to beat it for now. Reno loses his patience and tells the guy to move, as he's busy. The player throws his sword at Ruan's neck, asking if he didn't hear him telling him to get lost. Being called a rookie really ticks Reno off. He says his life depends on this game, and he doesn't want to waste a second. He asks the guy if he's up for a character deletion bet, questioning if he's going to chicken out. They mention the character deletion bet, which means if you lose, your character gets deleted. Since not many players are willing to risk it, it's not something that happens often. But the guy accepts the bet, telling Ruan he better be ready to make a new account. Ruan says the tradition of character deletion bets is about to be born, and together with the system, they set the terms. Winner takes everything, and the loser's character is deleted. They both accept, and the duel is on. The player taunts him, saying there's no backing out now, but Ruan says he'll finish him off in 5 minutes and tells the guy to say goodbye to his character, making the guy furious. But Maso tells the guy not to be scared, saying it's rare to get the chance to fight someone like him, and he should think of it as a lesson. At the start of the duel, the guy mocks how much time Ruan is wasting bluffing, and Ruan quickly charges at him, swinging his sword, which the opponent manages to dodge. The NPC says there's no way a rookie can keep up with his speed, and then launches an attack on Ruan, but Ruan blocks it with ease. The NPC is stunned, thinking there's no way that should have happened since he's definitely a higher level. He keeps swinging his sword at Ruan, but Ruan, with just one hand, deflects every strike. The NPC starts wondering if Ruan has some unique item or something. He pauses, realizing Ruan seems way too relaxed for a rookie, and begins suspecting that Ruan might be a player killer disguised as a newbie. Meanwhile, Reno thinks the guy's attacks are way too simple and starts getting annoyed. When the guy tries another strike, Ruan ducks and slashes the NPC's leg, noticing he's full of openings. The NPC gets more and more pissed, calling Ruan a little rat. Ruan wonders if the guy turned off his sensitivity settings because he's acting clueless. Then, Ruan realizes this will be easier than expected and activates his giant strength, which boosts his power for a limited time, and charges at the NPC, this time punching him. The NPC starts getting hit from every direction and can't believe he's getting wrecked by a rookie. With Ruan's presence growing more intense, the NPC starts seeing him as a giant. He wonders if the NPC is distracted, and Ruan thinks it's time to finish this, asking what the guy thinks. As Ruan charges, the NPC knows he needs to block the attack, but his body won't move. Ruan decapitates him, telling him he's not even feeling pain, so of course, he doesn't know the state of his own body. And with that, Ruan wins the duel, and according to the rules, the winner takes all. Ruan is happy because it turns out the guy had a bunch of items on him. Now, he prepares to go after the final ingredient, and back at Alan's workshop, there's a capsule waiting for him. He's got a production job now. He produces 2 items for players. However, he can't quite deal with the players' lack of skill in creating items. Ruan thinks it's a shame he can only do this once a month, but he still remembers how it was back then. So he manages to create the XP potion and now plans to cash in on that beauty. That day, in the exclusive arena trading area, at the arena shop, an insane item was added. Everyone was shocked to see an XP potion, and there was only one available at the entire auction. Every user rushed to get it, and this resulted in an exponential price increase. 6 months ago, the max price of the potion was 3,000 golds, but it ended up being sold for 5,000. So, Ruan made a big pile of cash and thinks that after paying his dad's hospital bills and covering his living expenses, he'll still have about 2,000 gold left. 1 gold is worth about 5 reis, so it's definitely better than working part-time at the convenience store. He says that if he becomes a streamer or a pro player, he'll need to level up to increase his combat power. So, the first thing he needs to do is level up and get equipment. He thinks about using the 2,000 gold he has left efficiently, so he decides to go for practical gear instead of cosmetic sets. He grabs the leather jacket with wind spirit, the red mole leather pants, and the sharp long sword. The village chief is surprised, noting how much the boy has changed since the last time he saw him. He asks if Ruan has joined some CTO, but the boy says no. Meanwhile, some girls nearby start mocking the protagonist, wondering if he's a walking traffic light. What a ridiculous outfit. He looks like me when I throw on every free skin in a game. Ruan starts calling them stupid idiots, insisting that utility is more important than appearance. The chief notices that Ruan's face is the same color as his pants and asks if he's okay. Ruan brushes it off and asks for a mission. He rushes forward, and some starving dogs charge at him. He easily defeats them with his swords. He comments that maybe it's because his stats have increased, but he feels lighter. And Roar realizes that those items weren't expensive for nothing, as he's killing the monsters quickly. He thinks that fashion doesn't matter, only results, and completes the mission by killing all the forest wolves. Then, he focuses back on his objective. He's not playing for fun, he's betting his life on this. Every minute, every second, is money. His goal now is to get goblin blood, and his aim is to reach level 10 by the end of the day. At the dungeon entrance, he notices a lot of people around. A man approaches him quickly, saying he's recruiting members for his team and is looking for close-range fighters. Ruan introduces himself, stating that he fights at close range and asks if he can join. The guy agrees, but then asks Ruan to wait. Ruan feels unsure, and the man says Ruan doesn't seem to have any immunity items. He advises Ruan to look for a group of rookies instead, as they are an advanced team, and tells Ruan not to take it the wrong way. Ruan gets irritated hearing about rookie teams and asks who that guy thinks he is, claiming that even without immunity, he can easily dodge and handle goblin poison spit. At that moment, someone else shows up behind him, asking if Ruan has any experience with the goblin dungeon. The girl says it's her first time there, and they're also looking for someone with experience. If it's not a problem, she'd like to invite him to her group, asking what he thinks. She throws a little charm his way, and he falls for it, telling her, "Of course, I'll carry you, don't worry about anything." She then says they've got their last member and takes him to the group, but none of them seem too happy with Ruana's presence. The girl who's clearly trying to charm the protagonist suggests they all introduce themselves. She says she's a level 20 priestess, Choi Somi. Ruan introduces himself, saying he's a level 20 warrior, and mentions a cool system feature in Arena that keeps user status windows private. Next, a level 24 warrior named Choi Jin introduces himself, followed by a freckled boy who says he's a level 22 archer, Park Showman. Lastly, Jia, a level 23 mage, introduces herself. I'm probably going to forget their names. One's the tank, another is the archer. Jia is easy to remember, but I'll just call her Manhwa. The tank then asks Ruan if he'll be okay hunting goblins without any defense items. Ruan says he has a pretty good technique. The priestess chimes in, saying it's rude to question someone she recruited, asking if the tank doesn't trust her. He responds that no, he doesn't trust her, and says he doesn't want to die because of her. The two start bickering, and the tank calls them over to show their skills soon, inviting Ruan to join the dungeon. As soon as they enter, they come across some well-armed goblins with nasty expressions. The tank tells everyone to get ready, as it'll be their first fight together. At that moment, some goblins launch darts at them with blowguns, but the tank blocks all the projectiles and orders the backline to stay alert. MANHWA says they're ready, and she begins casting a spell alongside the archer, who readies his arrows. If you like this video, please subscribe, leave a like and comment for the next part.